Hello everyone, my name is Quad and welcome to the first video in the series of showcasing all the Warframes and their signature weapons. Today's Warframe is Jade, a support Warframe that buffs allies and debuffs enemies. We will first go over Jade herself, first how to get her, then her abilities, what to focus on when modding and so on, and after that we will continue with her signature weapons, Evensong bow, Cantare throwing knives, and Harmony Scythe. And at the end we will also talk about a bit of her lore. But as I said, let's first look at how to get her. To get Jade, you will first have to complete the Jade Shadows quest, which will get you her blueprint. We will touch upon the quest later on, but for now, don't worry, there'll be no spoilers. After you complete the quest, you will be able to farm up Jade by doing the newly unlocked Ascension game mode on Uranus. I will not explain how to do this mission in this video, but to let you know, completing the mission will get you blueprints for Jade's parts. If you are watching the video during Operation Belly of the Beast though, you can also get her blueprints at Ordis on Larunda Relay for vestigial modes. The event is going on during June and the first half of July of 2024, so if you're playing Warframe now, it is possible to get her parts that way as well, but for the people in the future, Ascension is the only way. To build Jade, you will need these resources, not that hard to get, you actually should be able to build her right away, but anyways, let's look at her stats now. These are rank 30 stats you will get with Jade, good amount of health, shields and energy, but not the highest amount of armor. You can obviously improve on that with some mods, so let's rather go to the good things, the abilities. First, let's look at her passive ability that is on all the time. She actually has two. First one is 2 aura mod slots, which is great for modding since you can get higher mod capacity from the start. The other second passive are something called judgments that can be applied with some of the abilities she has. You will see which enemy is being judged by the symbol at the top of their head. We will look at how to judge the enemies later on with the abilities. But yeah, the judgments make enemies 50% more vulnerable to damage for every player damaging the enemy, which basically means a 50% damage increase. But now, let's go over the abilities we can cast. First ability is Light's Judgment, which makes Jade throw a ball of judgment. The ball will make a bubble in which all the enemies will get damaged and all the allies will get healed in its radius by a set amount of damage or health, which is displayed on the screen right now, unmodded. Remember, casting judgments is great for you and the allies since it does boost everyone's damage to the enemies with the passive ability. I myself have a bad habit of forgetting to judge people all the time and just letting them be, so be sure to use the ability as much as possible. There is a set amount of how many judgment balls you can throw at a time, so yeah, be sure to keep aware of that, but anyways, just throw as many judgment balls as you can and judge as many enemies as possible. But let's now go to the second ability, which is called Symphony of Mercy, which deviates into 3 sub-abilities called songs. You can switch between the songs by clicking the second ability button, and you're able to cast the ability, you see in the bottom right corner, by holding your ability button. This is how it works on PC anyways. If there's a different way to explain it for console players, please let me know. I have no experience with consoles and stuff, so yeah, let me know. But yeah, let's now go over the songs. The first song is called Power of the Seven, which will increase the ability strength of your squad mates. The second song is called Deathbringer, which does the same thing, but this time you will increase their weapon damage. The third song is called Spirit of Resilience, which will increase the amount of shields your allies will recover and will also decrease the recharge delay of their shields. All 3 songs are amazing, and the best thing is, you can switch between the songs after you cast the ability. So don't worry if you activated the ability on the wrong song. You can easily switch between them. All the songs also affect you too, not only your allies, which makes sense. The best thing about the songs is also that the enemies that are being judged increase the ability duration you have by a few seconds per kill to max a double of duration of your ability. So for example, my duration of the ability is 30 seconds, now it can be 60 if I kill enemies all the time and, well, judge them. This means that the ability is pretty much endless as long as you judge people around you, which is kind of a bitchy ability, but to each their own, I guess, you know. Anyways, let's go to the next ability. Ophanim Eyes ability will slow down enemies and decrease their shields and armor in a certain distance as long as you look at them, for a set amount of percentage points, not percent. This is great for looking down corridors and straight pathways. On top of that, the ability also grants you the skill of reviving fallen allies from a distance. You may also revive your fallen companion, for example a Kavat or something. So yeah, it is a nice ability to use in pretty much any setting. It's so good on Ascension because you can look down and just look at the fallen ally and boom, he's up. It's a very good ability to have. But yeah, let's now go over to the fourth ability, which is Glory on High, which will transform Jade into a mothership. You will be able to fly around with her and kill enemies. The weapon used for this attack is called Glory, which you can modify in your arsenal. It counts as a pistol, secondary weapon, and all the mods you can use are of that variety. And yeah, it primarily does heat damage and has decent stats, but you will see how good it is when you use the fourth ability, which we'll look at right now. While you're using the fourth ability, you will drain your energy little by little, which means the ability is a channeling ability. You can use the normal firing mode, which will kill the enemies, or you can use the alternate fire mode, which will detonate all the enemies that are being judged. Using the alternate fire mode will consume more energy though, so watch out, like 25 energy unmodded. The attacks and shots you perform deal radial damage and also have a chance to cast judgments on your enemies if you hit them. In addition, you also take less damage while in this mode, but you're definitely not unstoppable. You are still able to cast every single other ability in your arsenal, for example throw judgment balls, or perform songs, or do the Eyes third ability thingy to reduce enemy defense and stuff. And yeah, I think it's absolutely amazing. Infinite fly mode. It is great. You're like an angel. But yeah, to sum everything up, on the one hand, the first, second and third abilities are buffing your allies, and on the other hand, they are debuffing your enemies. While the fourth ability will make you release a motherload of damage while flying around like a stork. If you want to see my build for Jade, it is on the screen right now. It is a 5 forma build due to not using any Umbra formas and using all the Umbra mods. The build is not the main part of this video, but I can say that I mostly focused on ability strength, duration and some range, since these are the most important aspects of the build. You probably do not need that much efficiency as I have here, but I like to use the fourth ability and the alt fire, so yeah, that's where we are. I use a lot of energy. My main focus with Jade was buffing the squad as a mother figure. I also use the arcanes for additional ability strength, and if I have to give an opinion, this build is not the best for solo play since you will be playing around and you will definitely be cycling between the songs all the time, which will kill you if not careful. I suggest you play her in a squad. She is a Warframe focused on squad play anyways, so you know, it should be played that way. But whatever. When it comes to her weapons, she has 3, as I said before. Evensong or Evensong bow primary. I will say Evensong because it sounds kind of right to me, I don't know. Then there's the Cantare throwing knife secondary and the Harmony Scythe as melee weapon. If we first look at Evensong, the primary bow, it is focused on slash damage. It has decent critical chance and critical damage as well though, and it does have a radial attack, which might not be the best damage-wise, but it is extremely good because of the bow's passive ability. We'll look at the passive ability right away, but let me just say, the only thing that is not that great on this bow is the slow fire rate. but you can easily improve that with some mods. But now let's look at the passive. Evensong has the ability that will add 7 puncture status on the enemy it damages with a direct hit or radial attack, which will make the enemy deal 0 damage to anyone and will also increase the critical chance of damage taken by 35%. Additionally, kills with Evensong will trigger a buff that will increase ally multi-shot by 35% for 30 seconds. A great ability and buff to have on pretty much every weapon. Anyways though, here is my build. It requires 5 Forma and focuses on cold damage and critical attacks. I also use primary Frostbite Arcane and Speed Trigger for additional fire rate since bow is rather too slow in my opinion, but when it comes to using the weapon, the radial attack does make it good since it does apply more status, and slash damage is great for enemies that have armor since it bypasses it. It is all around a great bow and it is amazing at buffing allies with its passive, just great. Plus the 100% damage reduction for the enemies, what the hell is that ability? But to continue, let's go to the next weapon. Cantare are throwable daggers that are once again slash based and have an okay critical and status chance. The unique feature of this weapon is that you have 6 daggers which you get back to you once you use them up, and they do damage the enemies on their way back to you. Cantare also has an amazing passive ability. The passive ability of the throwing daggers does increase the critical chance of returning daggers by 300 percentage points, which means you will always get red crits with them. I suggest going for even more critical chance so you can reach pink crits instead, not just red ones. To top that off, you also have an additional passive ability which also increases reload speed by 20% for allies for 30 seconds if you hit the enemy with returning daggers. These daggers, all in all, allow for some interesting gameplay since you have to hit the enemies in the back and then Uno reverse the daggers in the enemies in the front closer to you. It is a little bit of a different kind of gameplay that can easily get you killed, but it definitely is fun and great if you master it. Here is my 6 Forma build which focuses on pretty much every aspect of the weapon, mainly for crowd control with electricity damage and conjunction voltage arcane. The build is fun to use, but in reality I am not a fan of throwing daggers, even though they are kinda fun to use at times, but as a player that loves to play games solo, even Steel Path survivals and so on, I must say that this weapon is not the best for that kind of gameplay. It is better for a squad gameplay, which is what Jade excels with. Anyways though, I do not want to ramble more about the weapons. Let's now look over the last weapon, the Harmony Scythe Melee. Harmony is a puncture-based melee weapon with a lot of status chance and decent critical chance. And also some critical damage, you know. The speed of its attacks is not bad as well, but what is very bad is the passive. Well, for the enemies that is. The passive will condense all damage over time effects such as toxin, slash, heat, gas, and so on into one instance, combining all the damage into one tick if you perform a heavy attack on the enemy. Furthermore, killing an enemy with a heavy attack will increase the status duration for your allies by 30% for 30 seconds, which goes hand in hand with all the status-based damage here. My build is on the screen right now, which focuses on toxin damage and heavy attacks with the Tenokai effect for quicker death of the enemies. It is a 6 Forma build, which is, you know, kinda expensive, but honestly, I like this scythe even though I don't play with melee weapons a lot. As I said, solo gameplay is a little bit different on Steel Path than, well, squad gameplay, so yeah, it's good. I think this weapon is really good. But yeah, that is pretty much it about the weapons. They are extremely good for buffing allies and providing a bit of different gameplay style than usual in my opinion. They are definitely unique because they, well, buff the allies as well, not just yourself, and you do have to keep in mind what you need to do to actually trigger the buffs, but honestly, it is more or less just, you know, a gameplay you can get used to. To continue now with the video, we will also go over a bit of lore of Jade, so if you don't want to get things spoiled, be sure to first complete the Jade Shadows quest if you, well, yeah, don't want to get things spoiled. Here I have a little countdown, I guess. 3, 2, 1, boom. Okay, so Jade, Stalker's wife, was a normal person once who was turned into a Warframe in the same way as Excalibur Umbra was, for defying the Orokin. But there was a little thing going on while she was being turned into a Warframe by the Helminth. See, Jade and Stalker, Soren at the time, were expecting a baby, which kind of turned into a Warframe baby of some sorts when Jade was being turned into a Warframe, which is kind of wild, but it is true. With the collapse of the Orokin Empire, the Stalker, also an Umbra Warframe now, was being hunted down like the rest of the Orokin for, well, siding with the Orokin, but luckily, Jade, his wife, saved him. The end was not happy, however, because Jade became unwell and was dying due to an unknown reason. The Stalker tried to save her, even going as low as contacting the Tenno, but he was not successful in his attempt. What he was successful in was saving the baby, which he named Sirius and Orion, depending on the Eternalism theory. And that is kind of it, how the story of Jade and the baby went. Well, the story is, in my opinion, quite inspirational at the end, since we have a new beginning with a new child. I still can't imagine what the infestation did to the baby if Excalibur Umbra, a veteran Dax soldier, was screaming in pain. Well, at this point I must say that Stalker, now a single father, has now become one of my favorite characters, and I'm not gonna lie, I did actually get a few tears in my eyes while writing this part of the script. The quest itself was, in my opinion, masterfully made, even though it didn't really make a lot of sense with Corpus invading a Grineer-controlled planet this easily, but anyways, I still liked it very much. With this, I will be continuing this series of showcasing all the Warframes this way next week with... Actually, I'm just making sounds right now. I don't know which one I picked. We'll see later. Yeah, hopefully it's okay. Hopefully this video was helpful. Tell me down in the comments what you want to hear more about in these videos. I try to improve as much as possible, and your suggestions will shape the way I make videos in the future. So yeah, for now I thank you for watching and wish you a very nice day. Bye guys!